the part where it counts down. I feel like a little kid. All right. So, today, the topic is Jesus. Today we get to talk about Jesus. Christianity. Okay. Let me give you my Christianity disclosure here. Okay. This is not church. Okay. Our goal is not to preach Christianity, but to teach the historical value. So, if we were talking about Buddhism, right? I always get a big kick out of it. People out in the world that think our schools are teaching Islam. Yes. How do you understand the Middle East without studying Islam? Right? That's not okay. We're doing the same thing. We also teach Buddhism and Christianity and Hinduism, and right? Okay. We also teach polytheism. Teach, not preach. There's a difference. So as we talk about Christianity here, understand that we are looking at it from a historical perspective. Okay? So I'm not going to satisfy the Christians in the room that think that I'm not trying to offend you. Okay? I'm not. I'm looking at it purely from a human perspective. Whether or not Jesus is the Son of God is up to you. Okay? No, but we're not going to debate the existence of Jesus. Okay? Any more than we would debate the existence of Socrates or Plato or Caesar. Okay? If nothing else, there was a guy named Jesus. He walked on the face of the earth and he altered the course of world history. Now, whether or not he's the Son of God, I leave to you. Okay, so that's the perspective we're coming from here. All right. Now, when you look down here at the development of Christianity, there's a few things that we need to make sure we clarify that even a few churchgoers may not be aware of. And the reason these two topics overlap is Christianity developed against the backdrop of the Roman Empire. Okay? Now, for the most part, number one, Romans get a bad rap in the Bible. The Romans, generally speaking, historically speaking, were fairly tolerant of other religions. Okay? They would allow native people to worship their native gods as long as they behaved themselves politically. Right? As long as they paid their taxes and followed the laws of the state, they were fine. Okay? So the other thing you need to understand is that Judaism, even in the time of the Romans, is a very old and well-established religion. Judaism is upwards of 5,000 years old. So even when the Romans come along, the Jewish faith is a very old and well-established religion. So the Romans know what they're dealing with. The Jews are used to being conquered. The Jews have been conquered by the Seleucids, the Ptolemies of Egypt, on and on and on. And when the Romans show up, it's just kind of like, okay, what do we need to do now, right? For the most part, early on. So there's a period where these two sides get along fairly well. Now, this can be shown in how the Romans governed. So when the Romans conquer the Jewish province of Judea, so down in here somewhere, okay, they would put a governor in charge of a province. You had a Roman governor, what they call a procurator, which is a vocabulary word of yours. Okay? And then they would allow the native people to have their king. But that king was sort of a puppet, right? Underneath the Roman procurator that was accountable to the emperor in Rome. So there's sort of the political hierarchy there. Bottom line is this: the Romans tried to do what they could to Romanize the people they came into contact with, but at the same time allow them to practice their own faith. Okay? So just be aware of that. Now, you guys ever seen the movie Toy Story? So you remember the scene with Woody and Buzz are in the Pizza Planet? And Buzz goes into the little spaceship with the green dudes. He's like, who's in charge here? He's like, the claw. The claw decides who stays and who goes. Right? So I don't know if you're aware of this, when Woody is trying to get Buzz out of the back of the spaceship at the end, The little green guy's like, he must go. He has been chosen. Woody yells out, let go of me, you zealots. I bet it went right over the top of your head. Okay? This is a vocabulary word for you. What is a zealot? So have you ever heard the term overzealous? Okay. A zealot or zealot, depending on how you want to pronounce it, is an extremist. So the little green dudes in Toy Story are claw extremists. He must go. He has been chosen. The claw decides. He said, look, it moves. Right? I mean, they're just right. Every religion has them. Every religion has them. Okay. So the term is a generic term used to describe extremism, where the term overzealous comes from. Okay. So in 66 AD, if you look over here on the board, I don't know, I got to use better markers here. I'm hoping the camera can see this. If it can't, it's like that. This information is not on the test. This is here for your knowledge. Okay. But in 66 AD, Jewish zealots rise up and rebel against the Roman Empire in Jerusalem. And the Romans put it down hard. They crucified tens of thousands of Jews. They destroyed the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. Today, the remaining western wall of the Jewish temple is a Jewish holy site. It was destroyed. It's in Jerusalem. It was destroyed during this episode. And that begins a time period in the Jewish faith called the diaspora, which means to disperse or flee. Okay? So where do they flee? They got to get away from Rome, right? So if I'm here and Rome is here, where do I have to go? Eastern and Central Europe, right? Fast forward with me. A few years later, 1939, and a horrible human being by the name of Adolf Hitler, who proceeds to exterminate 6 million Jewish people. Okay? Now, by 1945, the U.S. wins World War II. U.S. and its allies, Great Britain, France, right? They decide we can't ever let this happen again. Okay? Guess where most of the German concentration camps were? They're in Poland, Auschwitz, Dachau. They're in Poland. That's where the Jews were, right? And the plague plays a part in this too, which we'll get into later. Okay, believe it or not, yes, the plague influenced the Holocaust. Okay, so they decide we can't let this happen again. So they start to reinstitute Jewish settlements in and around a place called Mount Zion. So if you've ever heard Islamic groups refer to the Zionists, that's where that comes from. Zionists are the people who supported the Jews being put, Jewish settlements into Mount Zion. Who are they talking about? They're talking about you and me. Americans, French, and Westerners. Okay? And they will call them Zionists. That's where that term comes from. Okay? Now, by 1947, the United Nations recreates the state of Israel. Okay? Now, what's the problem with this? Yeah. Yeah, like who do you think's been living there for the last 2,000 years? The Muslim, Palestinians who happen to be Muslim, right? So it would be like if I showed up at your house tonight with some policemen, or like, hey, this family here, they used to live in this house and they want it back, so we need you guys to scoot over and share the house. How well would you think that would go over? It's not, right? So the very next day, literally the very next day, every Arab country declares war on Israel. Okay. Now, the problem is the Israelis are fighting with American and westernized jets and planes and tanks and weapons. And the Palestinians and the other Arab countries are quite literally fighting with sticks and stones. So the outcome is predictable, right? Now you wonder why they hate us. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting there aren't good reasons for this. I'm just telling you, historically, there's always two sides to the coin. Okay, this is how it developed. The main reason for going over this with you is that you understand how history impacts your modern world. All this stuff traces back to the time of Jesus. And to put it this way, Jesus is born into this world. Sound like a happy place for Jewish people? No, it's not. Okay? So understand that Christianity begins as a movement within Judaism. Okay? Jesus himself never foresaw. You understand, Jesus is a Jew, and he's a Roman citizen. Okay? So if we're talking about him as a human being, right, and that's our goal here, Jesus is Jewish. Okay? So when he starts preaching, he himself never foresaw himself creating a new religion. That was never, he says it. Yeah, that says it. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law of the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. He sees himself as a continuation of Judaism. It's not till about 100 years after his death that Christianity kind of becomes a thing. 40 years. Okay, after his death. Okay, so the teachings of Jesus are I'm not going to get into here's one thing they teach you when you do public speaking. And despite what you may think about Jesus, if nothing else, he was a brilliant orator, speaker. He was very persuasive. Okay? One of the things they teach you in public speaking is know your audience. Know who you're talking to, right? What they're like. So when you guys ever heard of the Sermon on the Mount? Jesus talks about, blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall see God. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the oppressed, for they shall be. Who's he talking to? He's talking to other Jews, right? So under the rule of the Romans, oppressed, me. Kicked around, me. Right? Always having to take it, never fighting back, me. Right? Now, the second thing about Jesus is his message is very, very, very simple. Okay, his audience of Jewish people under the rule of the Romans probably are not the most highly educated people in the world. So he keeps his message very simple. Love yourself, love God, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is the golden rule. Worship the word of the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your spirit. And you're sitting there going, wow, that's it? I can do that. Not treat other people the way I want to be treated. Be nice, love God, got it. So does it make sense? His message is simple. It's appealing in that time and place. Okay? Even if you get rid of all the religious overtones, which that's church, not school. Okay? I'm not shooting that down. I'm just trying to stay historical about this. Okay? Now, having said that, when we move up here, how does Christianity spread? Okay, so I want to very quickly here, as quick as I can. You can do this too. Textbook. Hopefully this is quick. Boom. Go, baby, go. Aha. Well, 171, I think it is. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Okay, you guys see that? Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, you guys see that? Okay, so you see those pink areas there? Let me knock the second panel light out real quick. See those pink areas? I don't know what color that is. Pink, salmon, right? Those pink areas, those are Christian areas as of 325 AD. So you're talking roughly 300 years after the death of Jesus. That's all the further Christianity had expanded. Not much, is it? Okay. 325 AD. So you're talking about 300 years after. So you're talking about, does the French and Indian War sound like a long time ago to you? Okay, add another 50 years. That's how long after the death of Jesus we're talking about, and that's all the further Christianity had spread. Now, my question for you is, what is working against Christianity at this point? Remember what we're studying here. What unit is this? Romans. The Romans are working against. So, important for you to understand, I do not want you to misunderstand what I'm about to say. Okay? Please do not take this wrong. Okay? To the Romans, 2,000 years ago, Christianity was a cult. To them. It's a new religion. If it helps you to think of it this way. If I walked into this class and I said, guys, I'm the Son of God, what would you say? You would look at me crazy and laugh, right? But if I persisted, how long would it be before you called your parents and got me fired? You're going to persecute me. Anybody that believes in me and said, well, maybe he is. You're going to laugh and make fun of them. At a bare minimum. Right? Why would you think the Romans would treat Christianity any different? Now, every now and then I'll get some kid that says, well, because Jesus was the Son of God. Well, yeah, okay. Fine. Let's say all the miracles are true. Let's say they're all true. Even if they're all true, how many people do you think actually saw it? 10? How many people do you think actually saw Jesus raise Lazarus from the dead? Yeah, this is a handful, right? I mean, there's no CNN, there's no Fox News, there's no smartphones, there's no internet, right? There's not even radio. There's not the telegraph's not, So all of this requires a certain amount of faith, correct? Okay, even if you were there. So can you see why a large swath of the population who is not Jewish would be very cynical about all this stuff? I mean, if I said I'm the Son of God, you're not, hey, we saw this, like 10 people came and told you, we saw Mr. Benj heal this COVID patient. They were on their death door, he laid hands on him, and he jumped up and walked away. Would you believe that stuff? Why would you think the Romans, even if it was true, it might be true, maybe I did. You have no reason to believe it. Why would you think Romans would be any different? So they did whatever they could for almost 300 years to stamp out Christianity. And so Christianity doesn't spread. You follow? Now, see the orange? That's Christian areas as of 600 AD. So do we all agree something changed? Something changed, right? Okay, that's sort of where we are. So we go back to the notes. One of the people most instrumental in the spread of Christianity is the Apostle Paul. Many of your letters of the New Testament come from the Apostle Paul. Okay? He wrote people in Christian communities. Now, the Apostle Paul's story is important here. He is a non-Jew. He's what they call a Gentile. He's not Jewish. Up to this point in history, you had to be Jewish to be a Christ follower. Okay? The Apostle Paul is a Gentile, so he has this religious experience, the way it goes in the Bible. He's blinded, he sees Jesus, blinded, he converts to Christianity. Okay? He then starts traveling throughout the Roman Empire. Number one, he's a Roman citizen, so he can travel freely within Rome. Number two, he's a Gentile, and he starts telling people you don't have to be Jewish to be a Christ follower. So now you've just opened up the door to a flood of converts, right? You're not limiting Christianity to one segment of the population. Now it's open to everyone. That's a huge development in terms of spreading Christianity. The next one, and I'm going to skip all the way down to here, is the Emperor Constantine. So remember, by 325, it hadn't gone very far. What changes? Well, the Emperor Constantine converts to Christianity in 313 AD. And he issues something called the Edict of Milan. This will be on the test. Okay? The Edict of Milan says we're going to stop persecuting Christians. We're going to embrace it. You're not going to persecute Christians anymore. If we can't beat them, join them. Now, again, in history, it's really hard to judge motives. Did the emperor really convert? I don't know. Or did he just say, yeah, if I say I'm Christian, then I'll have a lot more followers? It's hard to judge. The story goes that he was getting ready to go into battle in Turkey. And that night before the battle, he had a dream. He saw the sign of the cross. And it said, in this sign you shall conquer. And when he woke up the next morning, he had his men put cross on their shields, and they won the battle. And so he converted. That's the story. Now, what the truth of that story is, or whether it's just a myth, I don't know. Okay. The truth is the Emperor Constantine's mother was Christian. And I'm sure that carried some weight, some influence. Okay. Now, the next guy, the Emperor Theodosius the Great, in 378, makes Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. So if the Roman Emperor is Christian, and you stop persecuting Christians, and the entire Roman Empire is Christian, that means all of Western Europe is Christian, and then 1,500 years later, those people get on boats and sail all over the globe. Right? So when you talk about the spread of Christianity, and keep in mind here, my goal was to stay historical with this. Okay? Not the development of Christianity, it's only the development of Christianity and its teachings and its logic. That's Jesus, right? And his disciples. But when you talk about the spread of it, the proliferation of it, it happens much later in the timeline than most people are aware. And the people that are influential are the Apostle Paul, the Emperor Constantine, the Edict of Milan, Theodosius the Great. Okay? Now, brief little side note, so I make sure you understand where I'm coming from when I called Christianity a cult. I was calling it that back then. Okay? I think I explained myself. Have you guys seen this symbol before? What do we sometimes call it? It's called the Jesus fish, right? Do you know where it comes from? No. It comes from, in the time of the Romans, in the early days of Christianity, to announce that you were Christian was suicidal under the rule of the Romans, right? So how do I convey to other Christians that I am a Christian, that this house is friendly to Christians, without broadcasting, without the Romans knowing that's what I'm doing? Well, if I use traditional Christian symbols like the cross, that's a dead giveaway, right? The Greek word for fish, ipkis, became an acronym, and I don't know the Greek. You know what I mean by an acronym, right? A letter stands for a word, right? And it was something like Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, in Greek. Okay? So they started to use that symbol. It's essentially a gang sign. It's a religious gang sign. I want you to know that I'm a member of this gang without the authorities knowing, right? That's what I'm doing. So today it's a decal that people put on the back of the car, or a tattoo they get on the wrist or ankle or something, right? But that's where it comes from. I'm using that to illustrate to you how oppressed Christianity was under the rule of the Romans, and then how when that frees up, right? When that frees up, it frees Christianity up. Okay? And then we talked about how Christianity changed the value systems of Rome. So Theodosius the Great makes Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire in 378, and by 425, Rome is no more. That's the date the Visigoths sacked Rome. It's the generally accepted date for the fall of Rome. So theoretically, someone who was alive when Christianity became the official religion of the empire would have also seen Rome fall. Now, again, I'm not blaming, it sounds like I'm blaming Christianity. I'm just saying it's a contributing factor. Okay? You change value systems, your ability to rule and govern and dominate people changes. Now, for a little while. It also becomes a reason to later. The whole doctrine of exploration was if you happened upon a land that was non-Christian, it was your duty as a Christian to conquer them and to civilize them. civilized men teach them Christianity, even at the point of the sword if necessary. People find all kinds of reasons to justify their actions. We'll get into that stuff later. Okay? Questions on anything? Amen. Right? Right? That's good. Amen. Praise Jesus. Peace out.